Hi everybody, Rattlesome27 back here for yet another wonderful zombie video. Today we're digging deep into what the hell does 9 mean? What is Voyage of Despair? Why do we even care about this new storyline? And is there something that, you know, might be hopeful? We might have some potential for what's going on in this brand new storyline. The first major thing I want to point out is our female announcer. I find so interesting. I think I've heard of people try and be like, is that Sam? I don't believe so. I think this is still very disconnected from the original universe. If they do decide to cross over at some point, it's gonna come from a place that is farther down the road than what launches. Reason being is if you use the premise characters early on and you cross them over the new storyline showing, hey, they are still in the same multiverse, it takes away from the other characters developing on their own and we won't like them as much. That was kind of the issue with the Transit crew. When they were launched, there was still Rick Toffin there, and people were like, oh my god, give me the other 3 back. I want to hear also Sam too. Rick Toffin is the announcer. We have Maxis, all these things from the past. We don't like this new crew. We like those old guys. That's sort of the thing I think Treyarch's trying to avoid, that they've learned from their mistake with how badly received the Transit crew after departing from the original OG crew. So this new announcer I find very interesting. We have our 4 characters. They are Bruno, Diego, Scarlett, and Shaw, in case you didn't know the names. They enter this really weird cave, and I wonder if that's going to be like the hub we see where they're stoking the fires and the beans and all that type of stuff in the original Black Ops 3. The idea that's been expressed by the developers is that there's a UI built for 2 different storylines. So you might choose the different book or the different location, and it might open up like a Cronorium, and you'll see the new storyline crew. I don't have a name for them yet. I think people have been debating on what kind of name to call them, like Nexus I saw for one, and there's like a Roman name. So very interesting, but I'd love to see what Treyarch actually ends up calling this team. But I could totally see them all sitting there with their little bowls trying to huff a sniff here to figure out where they're going next. So let me explain what's going on with these bowls. I love how they're also on the edge of the bowls. You'll notice alchemy symbols all the way around them. It's interesting to me to see such detail and commitment to this mysticism, alchemy, ancient artifacts type of impact. All 4 of them are travelers, and we know from the Voyage of Despair later on that they've all been working together on something. They're all seeking an answer together, and they all know each other very much because they ask about Scarlett's father, who used to work with this stuff, and he developed enemies. So you have a lineage here of someone tracking down and figuring out all these new artifacts and trying to stop this greater evil. Before we even get into it, have this in mind. What they're doing in 9 is going back in the past to see the original artifact that makes things into zombies, and in Voyage of Despair, they're trying to prevent that artifact from making people into zombies. There's 2 types of lore that go on, Egyptian and Nordic, between the 2 maps, which is really interesting to see them playing with these mythologies and twisting them into alternate history to make a more interesting game. Honestly, I like the setting of the cave more than I like 9, but we've only seen a little bit of 9, and what they've shown us so far is not easily digestible, but I think there's a lot more potential than people realize inside the map 9 because of where it takes place and how it takes place. So let's get into the huffing of the old alchemy smokes. When they do that, you'll notice that the eye colors change between the characters. Not only are they huffing it, you see Diego's eyes go blue to brown, but they also have that black transparency. What's important about that is they're not teleporting into the past, they're going into a character in the past, and they're taking over what their mind or thought process might be. So what they're trying to do is use these incense or alchemy recipes to teleport back in the past to re-experience what these people have already experienced. So it's not necessarily that our characters have an impact as of right now. Maybe they can go back into the bodies of people in the past and change it, but it seems like they're reliving the past in 9. Upon meticulous review of these trailers, I have come to start to like the little characteristics that showed through in the trailers, but the quotes gotta be cool, the characters have to be lovable, there's a lot they have to live up to, so there's a chance, all right? Like, when I see this, like, even the doctor having about the sniff, he's like, oh, here we go, don't know about this. Like, there's hopefully some good camaraderie on here, and it's tough to get attached to these groups, especially when we've had so many different groups from even past games. IW, brand new storyline. Then we have World War II, brand new storyline. And now Treyarch Zombies, brand new storyline. It's tough to keep liking somebody and then throwing them away. Liking somebody and throwing them away. That's what's so special or lucky about the original crew, we've had 10 years to develop these characters, 10 years to grow attached to them. That's a luxury that Treyarch doesn't have with this new storyline. And it's why it's really ballsy to say, all right, we're doing something new, because the game's not going to last if we stick with the old. And I've seen some people argue that they don't believe that at all, but it's hard to see the writing on the wall if you haven't been in the community for that long. And even if you've been here for 10 years, maybe you just really like the guys. I certainly love Primus and Ultimus, but just like that story runs out of steam as time goes on. It's gonna get boring. Then again, it's been like 10 years and people still love it. The next comment I want to unpack too is the words that the mythical announcer that now could be some other being, some other gods, maybe one of the 9 gods that they're going back to figure out, or whoever's contacting them to try and stop the zombies and whatever the nefarious goals are of this cult. There's so many options, but this isn't meant for mortal eyes trying to tell us that this is some other outwardly being. It's something greater than our 4 characters, and they're listening to this being for some godforsaken reason to go back and figure out or experience the heinous things that are occurring during 9. Why wouldn't this information be available to our mortal souls? Why is it a big deal that we're doing what we're doing? What makes me interested is, does using alchemy come at a cost? There's a great anime series a lot of people are fans of called Full Metal Alchemist, and I think Brotherhood was the better animated version. There's a manga, all kinds, so however you say it. But the idea there is very focused on alchemy in this anime, and they talk about equivalent substitution. You can't make something out of nothing. There needs to be something of equal or greater value to use one of these alchemist recipes inside the show. That methodology could transfer over to the focus of alchemy in our zombie storyline in Call of Duty. And there needs to be a cost for them to go back and huff these salts. Do they gotta give up a bit of their soul? Do they gotta, I mean, there's a lot of ways they can go with this, so be open-minded. Hey, we're finally here inside the map 9. So, why is it called 9? I think that's probably the title of this video, unless I'll probably change it a million times. It keeps happening. There are fantastic theories going on in the COD Reddit. I haven't been excited to read the COD Reddit in ages, and it's been really refreshing to see such beautiful theories being developed and real discussions being had and research. It's something I remember like in the days of CODs, or maybe even the NGT forums or We the Gamer forums back in the day. I really wish they kept some of their domains up, like We the Gamer, so we could see just where we came from in our zombie theories and research and lore, and like Felician's theory and all that stuff. We're on that level, sort of, with what's happening. It's probably even more, to be honest with you, with our current iteration of 9. The eagle in the background will be pointed out as something that's very much a Roman symbol, and then they end up pointing out a banner later on in this trailer that actually could link to Carthage, which was a group of people who were crushed by the Romans in real history, and you can play with alternate history. There's a really weird mix of Rome and Egypt inside this trailer. Now, why it's called 9 would make sense, because it would be the 9 gods or deities that are in reference to Egyptian lore. Please forgive all my mispronunciations. I'm not only terrible with pronouncing stuff, despite this being my job, I also am terrible with remembering names. So there, you know that now. I think it's called the Ennead, E-N-N-E-A-D. And the Enen, or Great Enen, was a group of deities in Egyptian mythology worshipped in Heliopolis. Again, I apologize, I'm sorry I cringed. The sun god Autumn. Ooh, sun god. Don't we see a lot of suns in this trailer? The children forget the names. Okay, his children, there's 2 of them, and their children, there's 2 of them, and their children, there's 4 of them. The Ened sometimes included sons of, is that Osiris and Isis? Horus, I know those ones. The Great Ened was only one of several such groupings of the 9 deities in ancient Egypt. So even how this 9 idea started to gain my interest was actually a Reddit post by Heroslighted. I will link both posts because there's one that talks about how Rome actually potentially didn't win the war, and it was actually Carthage that won it in this alternate history. And then we have one called All Things I Noticed in the 2 new zombie map trailers, and they had an excellent discussion bringing up the Egyptian symbolism and how it's being merged into this like Roman atmosphere. Is it actually taking place in Rome? Is it actually taking place in Egypt? Or are we getting some weird middle ground here of this empire? Now remember, these empires were massive, but oh shit, that can still work. So the Roman Empire at its height looks like it absolutely hit the tips of Africa and even inside. So interestingly enough, we have the Roman Empire, and hopefully I have an image online of some of it at its height, right? It actually does go into the top of Africa. It also hits Egypt, and it also is close enough to Cairo or Memphis, which is near Alexandria from the past. The names have changed over time, but it can absolutely work that we have some sort of Roman Colosseum inside Egypt itself under the Holy Roman Empire. And you could still use the argument from the Reddit that maybe the Romans didn't actually beat Carthage, they actually defeated them, or there's some hybrid going on. With all that confusion said, it helps us get a location and explain why there's these weird mismatches of stuff. Moreover, we see symbols like the beetle, the cobra that we'll see more in this trailer, and other animals that represent links to the Egyptian heritage, but we also have very clear Roman architecture with the Colosseum, the pillars, and even the eagle. This next frame gives us some more imagery, and this is where the post originally from. A post by Sinister, who went into detail about 9 being set in an alternate dimension where Carthage defeated Rome in the Third Punic War and overthrew the Roman Empire. Potentially, but maybe a more convoluted and more nuanced explanation inside the storyline. Maybe they worked out something, but we'll get there. First, he points out the architecture. We've already discussed that. And we get into the Carthaginian flags, which you'll see similar symbols to the ones that are being hung below the eagle and the what looks to be a ram. Now, the interesting thing is he brings up this Baal, and the sun flags. It was widely, according to his posts, he writes, it is widely considered that Carthaginians were followers of the ancient Phoenician religion and the chief Baal Haman. The god is associated with the solar cults and the sun worship, which would explain the many sun flags we see flying all around the area in the pavilion. Here's the best part, Baal is also known as Moloch, an extremely sinister god with connotations of child sacrifice and other really nasty stuff. It's actually the basis of a lot of satanic concepts in newer religions. Many Greek and Roman historians report that the Carthaginians sacrificed humans and children to this god. While we don't know if this is actually 100% historically accurate, that wouldn't be the first time Treyarch have followed historical rumors and conspiracy theory in their storyline. So, this human sacrifice stuff ties in perfectly to the ritual we are seeing in the trailer. And guess which animal is associated with Baal? That's right, the 2-horned beast, or more commonly known, the ram. Very interesting points. Now, not necessarily does one post disprove the next post, because as I'm making this video, I found another one talking about how it's not Roman, it's not Egyptian, it's Greek. And it's like, this is beautiful, the conversation that we get to have about this map 9. A lot more than what we'll do with Mob of the Dead. Mob of the Dead is going to be very much storyline development. Back in the day, some of the most fun and interesting things about zombies was just trying to figure out where they are and why is that significant. This really fills me with that excitement we had back in the day of Call of Duty Zombies. So that's probably why I'm so optimistic. I'm more excited for Blood of the Dead, but I'm so optimistic for 9 and Voyage of Despair. Doesn't mean they're not going to mess it up. We'll see. But I also want to point out, somebody mentioned that the sun is a symbol for alchemy as well. So there's so many different connotations, so many different contexts that could all be right, could all be wrong, could be a mixture. And the reason I bring it up to you is not to be like, wow, there's all these things and who knows what the hell it is. This is all information that you can take now into the game and be prepared to try and solve and understand what's going on when we play through 9 for the first time. I also want to point out the pits on the left and right sides have stacks and stacks and stacks of bodies back there. That is messed up. Are they continually having the zombies kill each other? Are those gladiatorial fights? Are those human sacrifices? What's going on left and right? Because we see the artifact disappear when it's used. You may not have noticed that just on one viewing of the trailers, but whenever they put the artifact in and change everybody into zombies, we actually get a little bubble, very similar to the Shadow Man's bubble, that we see inside Shadows of Evil and at the end of the Revelations Easter egg. But everyone turns into zombies, the artifact disappears. So does it reform after the zombies are killed? Are there multiple versions of the artifact? What is going on? We'll have to get into that in a moment. The big money shot from the trailer here is the reveal of the artifact that changes everybody. You can actually see the Cobra quite clearly. There's actually a giant Cobra statue in the background of one of these shots. I'll try to point it out. For the life of me, I can't remember where those symbols, I saw those symbols now. I apologize. Please point it out in the comments. I've been Googling for like 5 minutes and I can't find where those symbols are. I can't remember if they're Roman or Egyptian. They look Roman to me. But on there, you can actually see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little gold circles inside the actual artifact itself, and they could be again relating to where this is and what's actually going on. Also take notice of all the symbols on the clothing, on the hemming of each of the cultists. You'll see that in Voyage of Despair as well, and it's interesting what it's going to say when we decode that, what the words actually mean. Someone suggested that they gave us the key when Jason Blundell's name came up in alchemy symbols, so we should look into that, seeing if that will give us an alphabet and figuring out what is actually being told and said through all the weird cultish language. So there's a lot of interesting things to unpack in this next scene. Now, previously we just saw all the cultists with these blue staffs, which are interesting to see. Why do they all have them? Is there any significance to that? But you see a similar kind of style for the shoulder pads or shoulder guards on this lead alchemist here, or lead cultist, and it's interesting to see that there's even alchemy symbols inside his shoulder pads. Why? Why is it red versus the blue ones? It just all could be the hierarchy and ranking of the cult, and something we could potentially have fleshed out in the storyline. But enough. Oh shit, there it is. Oh wow. Oh Christ, I don't know where I was reading about that. Oh, I gotta go find that now. Well, I was gonna point out the temple, but notice there's an obelisk to the right, out of frame, and I'm almost certain that confirms the location. Yesterday, I specifically saw this obelisk, and I wanted to make the connection that we used to be chasing obelisks in, like, the Transit Crew. And I remember my researching back in the day, there was somewhere in Egypt with an obelisk that was pointed out. And I very much now see that obelisk. And now we have temples on each side of said obelisk, on at least opposite of this, and then maybe on the other side there's another obelisk or something different. All right. Hi there, post-production Reed here, and once again I want to point out, earlier in this trailer, we found 2 more obelisks that were actually here. Who knows what it means, but I should point that out because, hey, we're doing obelisks again. Oh, Transit's back. Let's get into what I was originally going to point out was the 2-headed wolf separated by a triangle, and people have commented that it's actually the water symbol. But this starts to build something way more interesting to us now that we have 4 elemental temples with respective gods representing the elements. Remember back in the previous screen, we saw the eagle, we have the 2-headed wolf, we have the cobra, and then we also have one temple I don't think you can actually see during this trailer analysis. If we do, I'll point it out. But our characters even correlate with those colors on the temple. People pointed out that Diego, Shaw, Scarlet, and Bruno are all colors relating to those elements. And even more so, you could then relate the representatives of those colors to civilizations. A comment from Fospetru, which he got from Spanish YouTuber Vrutman, and it's cool to see this extra analysis. The connection they make is each of those bodies our characters become one with are a clan of ancient civilizations. They have the Maya civilization with the element of earth, Scarlet representing the Roman civilization with the element of fire, Bruno from the Greek civilization with the element of wind, and Shaw representing the Nordic culture with the water element. Now this would beautifully connect us to Voyage of Despair, where we end up seeing Nordic symbols show up, and we even have the two dogs show up again later in that trailer. I think I'm gonna split up the two trailers now because of how long this initial one has taken me to break down 9. So tune in tomorrow. I'm gonna do these one after another, making them for the complete breakdown of Voyage of Despair in those connections, but I'll still show the images back and forth. We're almost through it. So, how I want to conclude with this is how interesting the zombie change is. It very much resembles some kind of apothecary type like technology. They almost look like tentacles coming out in those dark smoke to corrupt and mess up all the zombies. It may be completely unrelated, but it definitely seems like it's that same sinister evil that we've come to know inside zombies. In addition, our characters here you can see the better representations of their colors and who they're fighting for. But what this allows Treyarch to do is change our characters' appearances quite drastically map to map, depending on what they're huffing inside the aromas. Now, because their characters aren't changed inside Voyage of Despair, there may be a connection that's actually them time traveling, using temporal rifts, or some other explanation besides just huffing the magic and then living it themselves. I'll save much more of those details for Voyage of Despair for that breakdown video. I think there's so much potential with 4 elemental temples, this classic obelisk as a callback to some of the towers we were powering in the past. I think our characters' freedom to develop in many different ways, change form, allows for more interesting gameplay and a freshness to enjoying our character looks. It isn't a melee only map. I just gotta continue to make that clear. Treyarch said all the normal weapons are in there. There's going to be box weapons. There's going to be unique stuff to the map. So it's exciting. Think about the elemental weapons we may be getting now, even though we've been elements to death at this point, right? Well, maybe there's a nice new unique take on it. Maybe it's not a staff, not it's a bow. Maybe it's swords, or it's the weapons we've seen from the promotional artwork. I'd like to know your thoughts on this because this is very complex. I don't expect you or I to completely understand it because we're missing a load of information, but this is the collective of me trying to break down all these many different theories we've seen around the internet to give you a better structure of, oh my god, 9 is kind of cool because it's one of the maps most poorly received, and for good reason. It really is a little off-putting to see some Doom-like creature coming out of a guy and us fighting with melee weapons in ancient Roman or Egyptian times. But depending on the size and scope of the map, it's probably going to be way, way bigger than just a Colosseum. We start there almost like a moon type of beginning, and that expands into going to these temples, and then expands past those temples into finding new locations, new areas, investigating the cults, the atrocities that are going on, and what kind of sacrifices, what gods are believing in. And 9, the name, again, could be playing off those 9 Egyptian gods. And maybe we have to please one of the 9 gods, or all the 9 gods, or we're doing tasks that involve those 9 gods or the animals that represent those 9 gods. We only have 4 temples with 4 elements. There's just so much that can be played with here, and it's exciting. That's great. It's not Monty, Apothicon, Honor, Vodka. Not that I don't love that stuff when it works. It's just there's a limitation on how many times we can spin our characters and the limitations of that story. Again, doesn't mean it's gonna be any good, but I'm excited at the risk and the chance of this being good. I'm so optimistic because taking this chance allows us the opportunity to have something just as good, if not better, than what we already love. Why wouldn't you try that out and be like, all right, let's see. All right, that's better or that's worse. You lose nothing in this, except, you know, you can make more maps with the characters you love, but it's more of the same. It's like you're gonna get the stuff you like, and then zombie saturation, you're gonna get it with your favorite characters as well. You're gonna get people hating the original crew. I've had people hate them in the past too, even currently. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy the video. I want to thank all the people inside my Discord that help discuss and develop these ideas into further detail and point more and more things out that help make these videos even better. I encourage you to go over to our Discord and talk into our Zombie Theory channel. I have a little discussion tab for you there. The link is in the description. It's always going to be there. Subscribe if you want. And YouTube sucks as per usual, but now the subscription button is not going to be in order. So make sure you follow me for that Discord and for Twitter if you actually want my videos in chronological order. I won't harp on this in future videos, but it blows my mind that now YouTube continues to change how this works. It's just the people that tell me, hey, your videos aren't showing up in my subscription box. Well, I guess they're never going to show up now at this point because of the way they're changing up the system. Maybe it's for the better, and I hope it is, and I totally get the rationale behind YouTube, but just frustrating because it's just like, why are we fixing things that I guess they are broken? So I guess that's that argument, but it doesn't seem to change for the better just yet. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.